Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I want to talk to you guys a little bit today about Thug Trump 2024. Okay. So, as you guys know by now, I think he's been indicted for like the fourth time or fifth time. I don't know. I mean, I'm losing track of all his indictments. And there is a super cool mugshot out of him, right? I wish I had a mugshot that was that cool. So this is not the same Trump that we had in 2016. Okay, and that's because I think he's been kind of beaten and formed by the system and hardened in the way that can't happen until unless you've actually been abused by the system. Okay, so Trump 2016. Okay, his mentality was that the FBI was composed mostly of good people with a few bad apples. Okay, and I think by now, I think he's come to understand that not just the FBI, but all the bureaucracies are corrupt all the way through. Okay, there might be a few good apples in there, but for the most part, top to bottom. Okay, including like the recruits coming in. Okay, they're corrupt, or they want to be corrupted. They want to be part of this corrupt system. They're mostly recruiting them out of Democrat-run cities. And it's not just the bureaucracies, it is also the military. Okay, the military is no longer the military of the United States of America. The military is now the military of the Democrat Party. Okay, they've post hoax, right, Koof hoax, they pretty much chased out any conservatives that were kind of still in the military. If there are any in there not still, they're like a minority that are keeping quiet. So for the most part, the military at this point, forget about if you served, forget about what it was when you served. Okay, this is a different military, right? Composed of different people. This is the current military is the military of the Democrat Party, and I think Trump by now is starting to understand that. Okay, I think he understands that. So this is Trump. This is a different Trump than we had in 2016. Now, I don't know to what extent he's come to understand that, right? But the basic idea here is that this is not a broken system that needs to be fixed. Okay, this is a system that is working as intended and needing to be dismantled. Okay, so all the bureaucracies, including the military, need to be dismantled. Okay, that's the only solution I think, or I hope Trump is starting to come around to understanding it. This country needs to go back to where it was during the ratification, during when the Constitution was ratified, with the exception of a few obvious necessary amendments that we had. For example, right to bear arms, freedom of speech, all these amendments that were added. The 14th Amendment, all these amendments that were added to improve the Constitution, and we need to remove the income tax amendment that needs to come out. But essentially, this country needs to go back to the vision of the founding fathers, and I think that Trump is starting to come around to understanding that. Now, important for us to understand that, like for example, American Revolution, right? It wasn't a revolution from the bottom up, right? It was really all revolutions are from the top down. George Washington, one of the richest guys in the United States, rather not in the United States, in the colonies at the time. He went into the American Revolution as as a what's the word? Basically, he was interested in land investments. He wanted to get land that was protected by British treaties. So he wanted to expand his land ownings into the West Virginia and Tennessee area. So that was like kind of George Washington's mentality going into the war. Prior to that, he was a loyal British subject, right? That fought in the British Army during the French and Indian War. So he went into this American Revolution, I think, out of self-interest, right? Thinking that, hey, if we get rid of the British, I'm gonna be able to grab all this land out further west. But he changed during the course of that American Revolution. He changed. Because at the end of the American Revolution, basically he was hesitant to even become president, right? Whereas I think at the beginning of the American Revolution, I mean, if they handed him a crown and offered him the opportunity to be the king of the colonies, I think he would have gladly accepted it. Okay, so George Washington went through some changes. Okay, because of the American Revolution. So, but the point is that he was, he was one of the richest people in the colonies. And the same thing if we look at the French Revolution, which I don't know all the details of, but I do know that the French Revolution was basically promoted by rich people wanting to get richer. Okay, so all these revolutions, they start from the top down, because it takes money and resources to fund these. Now, I'm not suggesting that we need at this point to have an American Revolution type of thing or French Revolution, but because we're not at that point. We're not at the point where people are being executed yet. But one of the things that I have said in prior videos, right, that desperate people do desperate things, and at the point now where they are threatening Trump with prison time, right? Now, obviously, he wouldn't be in a federal, like in a normal prison. He would probably be under some type of house arrest. But at the point where they're not just threatening him with a conviction, but think about the implications of a conviction. Because what's going to happen is if they actually get a conviction against him, then they're going to start going after his assets, right? They're going to start going after his family estate. So they're going to try and hurt his children, basically. So they're kind of putting Trump in a desperate position where he needs to fight back against the system. So this is a very different Trump than we had in 2016. So these indictments, the mugshot, hell, if they could basically keep him in jail for a couple of days, I mean, I think that would also work to our interest. It would serve the purpose of hardening Trump and making him understand that there's no fixing the federal bureaucracy and the military. It needs to be dismantled. Okay, the founding fathers knew that they were against standing armies because they knew eventually those armies would be used against the people, and I think Trump is starting to understand that at this point. Okay, like I said, I was really pissed off with Trump. Right, I kind of like really soured to him after the bump stock ban. Okay, I didn't think that he understood the purpose of the Second Amendment, how it's like that final safety to it's basically the final level of protecting the people against the government should the government become tyrannical. I think he might be starting to understand that. I think he might be starting to get it, that there comes a point where the system is just so corrupt that it is not fixable without drastic changes. Okay, so I think at this point he's still working within the system, but I think he's seeing how the system is just so rigged against them, that I mean, quite honestly, I'll give you guys my honest opinion. I think that he would still have a very difficult time winning a re-election, because how do you overcome all the corruption and all the fraudulent voting and all that stuff? How is he going to overcome that? Because that's still going to be there, right? The Democrats still control the cities. They can say that 100% of every Democrat, they can say like 100% of New York City voted for Biden, right? And even though we know that couldn't possibly be true, like we're not, nobody's allowed to go in there and check and inspect, right? So all these Democrat cities, they can pretty much say 100% of their vote, went towards their candidate. Okay, so I think that he would still have a very difficult time of winning re-election. But I think it sends out an important signal to especially the moderates that are in the middle, who will hopefully starting to understand how the system's corrupt, and eventually it's going to turn against them too. Okay, so there's I mean, the only thing power wants is more power, and here's the thing with the Democrats, right? I started thinking at one point. I was thinking that it was just maybe the Democrat leadership, but it's not just the Democrat leadership, right? First of all, it's not just Biden, because Biden's pretty much a puppet, right? He does whatever he's told to do. As long as he gets the label of president, he's happy. Okay, so he says and does whatever he's told to do. But I used to think that it was the Democrat leadership, right? The Newsoms and the Clintons and the the Gores and I don't even know who the rest of them. But it's I no longer think that that's just the case. It is also all the people that religiously vote for Democrats because of the self-interest of, let's say, like the teachers unions, right? Looking out for their own self-interest above let's say the interest of the children that they're teaching. So like the teachers unions and all the welfare recipients that are also in it just for their own self-interest, and they don't care what's going on with the country. They don't care if the country's slowly degrading, as long as they get their welfare money. So those people that religiously vote for Democrats are part of the Democrat Party corruption. Okay, so it's not just limited to the top. It's also all the people that vote for this corruption. Okay, and they know what they're getting. They can look at Biden. They know what they've got there. Okay, and they want it. They voted for that. They're intentionally voting for that because that preserves their status quo, right? Be it the benefits that the teachers unions get, right, and some other unions out there, the police unions, right? The benefits that, let's say, the bureaucracy, right? The FBI, CIA, NSA, military, all these bureaucracies, ATF, FDA, all of them, all these bureaucracies, they benefit from socialism, basically. Because if you think about all these bureaucracies, they're essentially socialism. The military essentially is a socialist institution, right? The capitalist version of the military would be what the founding fathers envisioned, right? Basically, private militias. Like if you look in the Constitution, they authorize, Congress is authorized to issue letters of marque. Okay, letters of marque is basically privateers out at sea. Basically, it legalizes piracy. So individuals with their private ships in time of war would be able to go out and commit acts of piracy against enemy ships. Okay, so the founding fathers envisioned a capitalist type of military, not this gigantic behemoth that the military has become. And it's kind of like there's like, it's created this race, this arms race, where the U.S. military, being such a behemoth, it has forced other nations to try and compete with that. So they essentially created their own problem. Okay, so anyway, but that's what I wanted to get out with you guys. I think I want you guys to consider that the Trump that we're looking at now is not the same Trump that we had in 2016. Just because he's experienced the system, right? He's experienced the abuse and the unfairness, and it's kind of funny. I'm seeing that there's a lot of there's like thuggish rap songs that now are being written about him, because I think that in the inner cities, those people, and I can't relate to them personally because obviously I don't live there, but I think they're starting, they've been abused by the system, or they feel like they've been abused by the system. I think it's a lot easier for them to relate to Trump than it even is for somebody like me to relate to Trump, because they've been through the system, he's been through the system. So I just want you guys to consider that and let me know what you guys think. I'll talk to you all soon. Hey everyone. I also want to add what the purpose is of all these indictments against Trump. I mean, yeah, the Democrats would actually like to see a conviction. They would like to see that it prevents him from being on the ballot. I don't think that they're banking on that. What I really think the Democrats are trying to achieve is, there's all these charges with evidence, right, with bank statements that show that Biden and his whole family are corrupt, and what they need is something to offset that. Okay, so you got the House Republicans showing bank statements that show the Bidens getting money from China, from Russia, from all these other foreign countries. So they need something to offset that, so they can say, hey, yeah, our guy is bad, but look at the other guy, he's bad too. Okay, so I think that's what they're trying to achieve out of this. I think that's the deal. I think that if the Supreme Court conservatives don't get off their ass and step in on this, they're going to become extinct. All right, because the Democrats, they control everything, right? They control the military, they control bureaucracies, they control the courts, right? These indictments are in courts that are controlled by Democrats. They're going to select, juries that they are sure are going to convict Trump. So it is very likely that there is going to be at least 1 or 2 or 4 convictions against Trump, right? Because of the areas that this thing is happening in. And here's the thing: there's a lot of, like, the soccer moms. If they see convictions, they're really not going to dig too deep into it. They're going to say, hey, if a court convicted him, he must be guilty. They're not going to look beyond that and say, hey, where is this court? Who are the judges? Who's this jury that they selected? So I think it's really up to the Supreme Court to step in and put a stop to this and say, hey, this all stops until at least after the election. If they don't, the conservatives on the Supreme Court are going to become extinct, and all the decisions that they have made are going to be eviscerated. Okay, if Biden wins again, if he wins again, chances are that 4 years later, another Democrat's going to also be reelected, because they're getting more and more control over the total system. Okay, so the longer you go without winning, the harder it is for you to win. Okay, so they're gonna wait out these conservative justices. They're going to replace them with their judges. And their judges are basically, they don't care anything about constitutionality. They're going to make decisions, not based on the Constitution, not based on precedent. They're just going to make decisions nilly-willy, whatever way suits them best. Okay, so it's really up to the Supreme Court the way I see it. The conservatives have to get off their asses. They got to stick their neck out. And they got to put an end to this, to what the Democrats are trying to do. I don't think there's any other way. I don't think there's any chance of a fair election. Not that I won't take my chance and go vote. If anything, it will be a vote of defiance. Okay, to vote for Trump, right? The guy that they're framing and trying to put in jail. It'll be a vote of defiance, even if I know that the system is completely rigged. But if anything, we'll go down. We'll go down screaming and kicking, right? Go down fighting. I don't think there's going to be much fighting. The Democrats just control everything: military, federal police, bureaucracies, CIA, NSA. You really can't do or say anything without them knowing about it. So there it is, guys. Talk to you all soon.